Okay, hello. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. UROCK for being here at our UROCK kickoff event. So this is the Undergraduate Research Opportunities Career Kickstarter event, and we really are excited to have you here, and we're excited to be part of our Fall Futures of Higher Education Festival. My name is Sharon Parks, and I'm Director of the Undergraduate Research Opportunities Program, or UROP. And we are part of a new partnership with, we have a center called the Student Excellence Center that takes place on the entire 5th floor of the Science Library. And we are collaborating with 2 other units on campus, so the Scholarship Opportunities Program and our campus-wide Honors Collegium. And we do have my fellow director, Rose Jones, is here from the Scholarship Opportunities Program, and she's going to take a moment just to share a little bit of information about her program before we get started.
Thank you, Sharon. I've got my timer set for 3 minutes because you have a wonderful array of guests, and I want to keep my time short so that you can listen to them. As Sharon mentioned, we're up on the 5th floor of the Science Library in the Student Excellence Center. The Scholarship Opportunities Program helps undergraduates who are high achieving, who, like yourselves, have engaged in research and want to continue after your undergraduate career, whether it is in the US or even in a foreign country. And we advise students, provide tips and advice and help or assistance with writing the personal statement and the statement of grant purpose, basically every aspect of the application process. Right? And so as you get further and further into your undergraduate career and you begin to develop a clearer vision of how you want to make a change in the world, come to our office. Talk with one of our student scholarship advisors or one of our professional scholarship advisors and figure out which of our 21 prestigious scholarships match your interests and will help you get to the next level. Whether that's research, whether that's service and leadership, you might have a postgraduate internship with the Carnegie Endowment. How many of you have heard of Rhodes or Fulbright or the Department of Defense, Department of State? These are some of the external funding agencies that will pay 1 year of full tuition and living expenses, or maybe they'll fund your entire graduate career. Okay, so this is a very, very important office for you to keep in mind as you begin to gain that research experience, get clarity on what kind of an impact you want to make, and how can you help find funding for it. Okay, so we're located right next to UROP. If you're a first year, please come see us because we'll help you find the resources at UCI, find the opportunities, just like UROP, just like CHC, that will help you build that competitive profile so that when you're ready in your junior and senior year, or even 1 year out from graduation, that you have everything, all your ducks in a row to be a competitive applicant. Okay? All right, on that note, 19 seconds.
All right, thank you. So I do encourage you to take advantage of all that UCI has to offer, including SOP as well as UROP. For those of you who may not be as familiar with UROP, I want to just very brief introduction that our mission is to encourage and facilitate undergraduate students to integrate into the research culture of the university by providing opportunities for research and creative activities between faculty and undergraduate students. And so we have opportunities for you to receive recognition and funding for your research. We also provide opportunities for you to present your research at our annual Undergraduate Research Symposium, which is each May. And it's a very large event, very wonderful experience. And so, you know, if you're not involved in research yet, that's why we're here, is to get you excited and inspired and to learn about why you should do research while you're here. And we have a wonderful group of professionals here to talk about how research kickstarted their career and how impactful it was for them and how they're using it today in their careers or just launched their career. So before we introduce our panels, I just want to mention a few exciting opportunities. This is the first one. We're kind of kicking off the year with this wonderful event. We have a few other things coming up this quarter. We have our fall call for proposals. So if you would like to conduct research during this academic year and receive recognition and funding to support your expenses related to your research, I would invite you to apply and submit a proposal for your research project. And this can be for research that takes place anytime during this academic year. The application period will open at the end of October, and our deadline will be mid-November. So all students will receive an email when that launches and opens. And if you would like help prior to that time, please, again, our office is on the 5th floor of the Science Library, and we have a lot of ways to connect remotely and in person. So we have advisors available to help guide you through this process. And then we also have a brand new initiative that, thanks to a generous donation by the Santoras, we are able to fund 100 undergraduate students to start a brand new junior, we're working on the title, but junior fellowship. And so the idea is this is a pilot program. We'll select 100 students where they will receive a stipend of $200 to commit to the program and all of our activities. And we'll pair them up with a graduate student mentor, and they will provide mentorship both in a one-on-one setting, but also in small group settings, and kind of guide them and explain what it is to do research, what should you do to be prepared, and to be successful, a successful researcher. And the UROP office will also offer 5 workshops throughout winter and spring quarter in a variety of topics related to research and career preparation. And so these are all wonderful ways to equip students with the skills they need to be successful. And hopefully by the end of the program, our goal would be that these students would then be applying for regular research grants, whether they're through UROP for their summer program, our SERP summer grants, or possibly grants in the next academic year. So a lot of exciting things afoot, and we will send emails to everybody in this room with all the information and how to apply. So I encourage you to apply for that. And with that, I'd like to turn the floor over to Michelle Kine. She's our Associate Dean in the Division of Undergraduate Education and a professor in biomedical engineering. Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you very much, Sharon. And thank you all for being here tonight. This is an event that is especially near and dear to my heart because it is through undergraduate research that I found out what I wanted to do with my life. But figuring out what you want to do with your life and turning that love into a passion that you can pursue for the rest of your life, it really takes a village. It takes a village and a lot of great mentors and supporters to make your dreams come true. And that's what we're trying to create for you here. So a huge thank you to all of our speakers and panelists from industry as well as from UCI and everyone who's worked so hard to make this event happen. I see Dean Denon and Dean Hayes in the back, undergraduate dean as well as the graduate dean. We have incredible panelists from industry as well as incredible alumni who will all be speaking to you tonight. A special thanks to Siemens for sponsoring this event and lending us their 2 female superstars for the evening, Cynthia and Mia. Mia is also a very loyal alumni, so we're very excited to have her back here. And Mia's also been really involved with me in an initiative we called FIGHT, Females Impacting Technology Everywhere, that we started at UCI with a lot of support from industry to really help support more women to go into the STEM fields. My original inspiration for FIGHT was my mom, who died 10 days ago. She was a chemist who worked at the NIH, and she quit her job so that she could raise my brother and me, because she said that she had to sacrifice so that I could have it all. And I feel like I have this amazing community that does support me, and I want you guys to feel that type of support because we want to help you guys make your dreams come true. And my mom would have been so proud of seeing all of you guys out here tonight because she loves supporting women and underrepresented groups to get them into research, and she really loved to support research. So thank you for coming out here tonight. We have an amazing lineup. We have our plenary speaker, Cynthia Eng. I'm going to introduce in a second, followed by two panels. One is our leadership panel by really high-level folks in industry who are donating their time to talk to you about opportunities in industry and why research is so important, as well as some incredible alumni I feel very privileged to have gotten to work with over the years here who are doing amazing things with their lives now. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Cynthia. She's a branch manager at Siemens Smart Infrastructure, and she's focused on leading a team of more than 300 people in one of the largest markets in North America. She's responsible for the profitable growth of all business lines in both service and solutions. She's responsible for employee development, customer loyalty, and zero harm safety culture. She has a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering, and she is pursuing her MBA right now. In fact, she has class this evening, so she's going to cut out for a little bit to attend class. She's getting her MBA. So she's an incredible role model. She's well-rounded as well. She's also a swimmer and a snowboarder, and I just can't wait to hear from Cynthia. So thank you. Please help me in joining. Welcome.
Thank you, Michelle. I'm going to get my timer here so that we can stay on track. All right. Thank you, Michelle, for that introduction. And as Michelle said, it truly does take a village. And I wouldn't have the opportunity to be here speaking to you without the different villages that have supported me throughout my journey. So it's great to be here for today's kickoff event. And really because we're focused on technology and research this evening, I want to share something that the founder of Siemens, Werner von Siemens, said about innovation. He said, an innovation's importance lies in its practical implementation. And I don't think there could be, anything more true than that. So in other words, the measure of our ideas may be in how well they address today's challenges. So as an engineer by training, I can certainly identify with that mindset. I think in what I've seen over the last 2 years, we're presented with new challenges every day. Many have been unexpected. So what I'd like to do is really walk you through my journey in engineering and technology, and then how I ended up at Siemens, and then why it's a powerful time to use technology to make our ideas real and to find solutions that will positively impact the world. So I like to say it's about making real what matters. So I am going to stray from my notes here. So a little bit about me. Who is Cynthia Eng? How did I end up here? I am a Floridian, so if you ever watch Dateline, I think my state's responsible for a lot of the episodes of Dateline. But I am one of 5 girls. I'm the 4th of 5 girls. So I think we're all very tough women now, because I think growing up with a bunch of sisters, it creates that resilience. But I was very fortunate to come from really a STEM-focused family. My mother was also a chemist at the CDC in Atlanta for quite some time, and my dad has a math degree. So it was only natural for me to end up in technology STEM field. But I was never pushed that way. It just came naturally to me. I loved math. When I was in elementary school, I was fortunate enough to have teachers that saw that passion, and they would give me extra logic puzzles to do at home and all sorts of stuff. So I constantly had that village trying to cultivate that growth, that interest in STEM fields. And that eventually led to having an opportunity to go off to college. And so I'm a mechanical engineer, and I might be in business now, but I am an engineer through and through. I really struggle with what's called the gray area. And how I ended up there is I love math and I love physics. Physics just seems so fascinating to me. I still remember some of the experiments that we did learning about kinetic energy, and I just thought it was the coolest thing that gravity has an effect on everything, and you consider gravity in almost anything that a mechanical engineer does. And so that was fascinating to me. But I didn't necessarily have a research background or interest like many of you, but I really wanted to see the world around me and how I could have a positive impact on the world in which we live in every day. So I did what's called a co-op, and I don't know if any of you are familiar with a co-op, but I had an opportunity to work in a couple different positions with an electric company down in Florida. So I thought it was great. I was going to get to go work. I was going to get to live at home, maybe learn a little something. What I found out was I did not want to work for an electric company when I got out of school. And I almost felt like a failure because I'm like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do now. But what it did do was open my eyes to the world of energy and technology. And while I didn't want to work for a power company, I knew that I wanted to have a positive impact on how we consume energy. I had no idea how I was going to do that. So I applied for a lot of jobs, and I finally got a job with what's now one of our large competitors at Siemens as an energy engineer. And that's really what kind of set me on that path in the world of energy efficiency. I've had the opportunity to do work on a lot of really cool things. I worked in our Washington, D.C. market for a very long time in energy engineering and really stood up that business for that one of the largest markets in the U.S. And I've had the opportunity to impact Southern Methodist University, a large higher education institution in Dallas, Texas, really on the ground floor of their journey toward becoming a net zero campus. And I know that UCI has a goal of becoming a net zero campus. It's something I personally am very passionate about, trying to have a positive impact on the environment around me. So that's a little bit about my background, how I ended up at Siemens. Another thing that's really important to me and the journey, let's see if I can get the microphone back in here, is diversity of thought. So I'm a mechanical engineer, something I'm very passionate about. I never questioned whether or not it was something I wanted to do or if I was in the right place. But when I looked around in the classroom, there was less than 5% female students in mechanical engineering at that time. And so rather than look at that as a challenge, I saw it as an opportunity. And one of the awesome things about working for a company like Siemens is that I have had a village along every step of my career journey. And now more than ever, Siemens looks at, that achievement, it comes through diversity of thought, cultural diversity, gender diversity, racial diversity, and really just a philosophy of inclusion. And so we at Siemens, recognize that people aren't one-dimensional. And we can provide a lot of intersections in which our employees can advance their careers. So has anybody ever heard of something called an ERG or an employee resource group? Okay, a few of you. So when you do enter the workforce one day, I would encourage you to think about what opportunities are there within these employee resource groups. Siemens actually funds research through the employee resource groups and ideas that come out of interacting with a diverse range of individuals. I'm part of an employee resource group that actually has a global reach. And it's quite fascinating the different individuals that you'll come across and learn from. And so one of the other things that really got me here today, and I still continue now, is mentorship and networking, and also taking an active role as a mentor. And I'm involved in a group with Auburn University still called 100 Women Strong, and really it's looking at the promotion of STEM inclusion. And so I think it's neat. I get to mentor students, but then I personally have mentors. I've had different mentors throughout my career. And it's really been that village that has committed to providing opportunities for my personal growth, my professional development, and looking into how we do innovate, how do we think outside the box, and to really challenge me to grow. And I'm going to get to the growth piece a little bit more here shortly. And can we go to the next slide? So going back to my engineering and how I ended up at Siemens, one of the reasons I was really attracted to Siemens is I like to think about what my personal mission is. What is my mission? And I would encourage all of you to think about, what is your personal mission? What is your personal mission statement? And for me, I'm a bold and courageous leader that's passionate about bringing technology with purpose to our customers. And so that's a little bit more business minded, but that's really where I'm at in my career today. So I mentioned purpose because it really matters in the technology that we create. So another story at Siemens, we're really combining our emerging technologies with the long-standing know-how of the physical world to be reimaginative. And I'm going to share an example that's very applicable today. So if we think about the race for the COVID-19 vaccine, not just to develop it, but to actually produce it and to get it into arms. The development was one piece, but how do we mass produce that amount of vaccine so quickly? How is that even possible? And we're talking billions of vaccines. So Siemens was able to be part of that solution. We helped convert a BioNTech facility for vaccine production in less than half of the time that it was anticipated to take. And that's really thanks to our hardware and software, thinking outside the box, leveraging our technologies to make an impact on the world around us. So, and if I think about technology with purpose and going back to my passions and sustainability in the world around us, Siemens also has goals to be carbon neutral by 2030, and then also helping our customers reach those goals. I mentioned Southern Methodist University. I know UCI has that goal as well. And it's critical to think outside the box, how can we leverage our technologies and our solutions to do this? So Siemens is truly transforming the everyday. And the next slide. Okay, so you might be wondering why I have the Mars rover here up on a slide, right? But it's also about pushing boundaries, especially those of you interested in research. That's truly what you're doing. You're pushing those boundaries to solve a problem, whether it's solving a problem that's known or solving a problem of the unknown. So this photo here shows the Mars rover Curiosity. It's on the surface of Mars in this photo. And so you also may remember Perseverance. That's the newest rover, and that landed on the red planet earlier this year. Very recent. So when these rovers were being designed, NASA needed a way to test their ability to survive what engineers call the 7 minutes of terror. And they needed a way to validate that the rover could land softly and withstand this 7 minutes of terror. So the thing to keep in mind here is that the atmosphere of Mars can't be replicated here in our real world. There's no way to replicate that. And so NASA turned to Siemens and turned to the part of Siemens that Mia here works with our software. And so they turned to us to simulate the Mars environment in the virtual world. So again, making real what matters. So we simulated the landing conditions, and then NASA also created what we call a digital twin, which some of you may have heard of now. I think the digital twin terminology is becoming more popular, but Siemens is a pioneer in digital twin. And so what we did was leverage that technology to make it mission ready. So these kind of tools, we're not just providing them to government agencies. These tools, this technology is used by over 100,000 companies worldwide. And we also make this technology, these softwares, available to students like you. So when we talk about practical implementation, making real what matters, that kind of takes us back to that Werner von Siemens quote that, let me go back to it. So in innovation's importance lies in its practical implementation. And that quote is more than 100 years old, and it still stands true today. So some of the key takeaways, I really encourage you to pursue your passion, right? One of my mentors once told me, the only person that knows what's best for Cynthia Eng Incorporated is Cynthia Eng. And whether you think about yourself as a company or not, it's about staying true to yourself, staying true to your passions, and really pursuing those passions. I found that while there may be risk in pursuing your passions, it's a lot more rewarding than just following a convenient path. and some people stay within what's convenient and what's comfortable. But I've never done well with coloring inside the lines. And so I encourage you to challenge what's unconventional. Aim to surprise people who would have expected you to maybe do something they could have predicted, right? And I really, truly feel that's what research and innovation is all about as well. That's how we come up with some of our best, most innovative ideas. So lastly, at Siemens, we have what's called a growth mindset. And I am so passionate about this because I feel like, wow, I'm finally not feeling like I have to fit inside a box. I'm a large company, but we're all about growth. And, my success is partially due to the engagement, empowerment, and freedom of communication between people that Siemens provides, and Siemens really does promote. And so I'll leave you with this. So imagine your own career 10, 20 years into the future. Think about how technology and even business models may advance during this time. 10 years ago was the first iPhone. Look how much that technology has accelerated our society, right? And so forget about what you don't currently know and really ask yourself, how much more will I learn? Which tools will be available to me? And what am I overlooking? Do I need to create a tool? And then how can I prepare myself and my team to solve that impossible problem, even if it requires a tool that doesn't yet exist? Because we're not going back, we're going forward. And I think our technology is a testament of that, especially this Mars rover picture here. And so this growth mindset is really how we can continue to thrive and change. It's how we're going to create the future we want. So again, I encourage you, think about the future that you want. Think about how you can push those boundaries to help us get there, and embrace a growth mindset. So thanks again for your time. I appreciate the opportunity to come and meet with you today. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mia Fuji, who's going to introduce us to our panel speakers.
Well, thank you, Cynthia. Wow, that was exciting. I am so honored to be here today in front of all of you fellow Zot. I am an alumni of UC Irvine, and I'm so happy to see a full room here. And I'm super excited because you have the opportunity of a lifetime to get introduced to a wonderful program that Sharon and Michelle have presented to you today with the UROP program. And the reason why that's so important is UC Irvine is investing in each and every one of you to give you that opportunity of a lifetime. And why am I so excited? Well, if you would have asked me back when I was going to UCI, if I'd be up here in front of a room full of students talking to you today, I would have said, you're crazy. No, that would not be me. But I've been so fortunate, as Cynthia has, to have a lot of mentorship, a lot of people that supported me through my career development. And I got my degree in electrical engineering from UCI, and it's really been a fantastic journey for me. What I'm happy to do is present to you this awesome leadership panel. And I'm very honored to present to you 4 leaders who come from industry, who have backgrounds that are very strong in research and development. So without further delay, I'm going to ask them to please walk up to the front and sit. Noreen, please, on the first chair. And then the second person will be Kwame, who will be on the video. And then we'll have Judy, please. Yes, go ahead and sit up there. And then Virginia, please. Thank you. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you a little bit of background in each of them. And then I'm going to ask them a question. And the questions that we've come up with have been a collection of questions from you in the audience that we asked beforehand. And we'll try to cover them. And if we don't cover all of them, we will get to your questions and answer them after the program. So the first speaker I'm going to go to and introduce is Noreen Galvin. And Noreen is the Senior Vice President of Quality, Regulatory, and Clinical Affairs for Beckman Coulter Diagnostics. She joined Beckman Coulter in 1995 and has held roles in various functions, including research and development, European commercial operations, service, strategic marketing, product management, technical support, quality, clinical, and regulatory affairs. My goodness, awesome. And she managed the research and development organization, and why she brings a lot of information for you today. She earned her bachelor's degree from microbiology and biochemistry, and earned a PhD in microbiology from the University College in Dublin, Ireland. So welcome, Noreen. I'll come back to you on the question, but I'm going to introduce the rest of the panel. Next, I have Kwame Omer, who's on the screen. I don't know if you can hear me. I see he nodded. He's a venture partner at Wavemaker 360 Health. It is the leading Southern California-based early-stage venture capital firm, and they are focused on the healthcare industry. He leads the MedTech practice and participates in all aspects of fund management. Kwame brings nearly 20 years of experience evaluating medical technologies in the government and private sector. And he serves as senior operating roles in several medical device companies. He has personally evaluated over 1,000 medical technologies in his career, and he spent 12 years at the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, in progressive leadership roles such as deputy director and branch chief. He also has been vice president of regulatory affairs and quality assurance at Implant Direct, a Danaher Corporation operating company. Kwame serves on the board of the University of Virginia Licensing and Ventures Group, and he's also a lecturer and researcher in MedTech innovation at the University of California, Los Angeles. He is the founder of MedTech Color, a nonprofit with a mission to advance the representation of persons of color in the medical device industry. He earned his bachelor's in physics from Lincoln University, and he has 2 master's degrees, one from the University of Virginia in materials engineering and the other in business administration. So welcome, Kwame.
Yeah.
The third panelist is Judy Greenspun. She is the founder and CEO of NPI Services, Inc. It is a 24-year-old electronics manufacturing service company in Costa Mesa, California. When most electronic manufacturers were moving offshore, Judy asked herself, what would not move? The answer was complex research and development for new product introduction in the medical, industrial, and aerospace markets. Judy earned her BA in economics from St. Mary's College of Notre Dame. She then spent 5 years as a developmental economist in the Philippines. She credits her creative problem solving, maximum use of limited resources, and diverse cultural collaboration skills to her Peace Corps experience. Judy attributes her NPI success to her dedicated team of technical professionals. Today, she supports many STEM scholars and is a proud member of UC Irvine's Engineering Council. She's also a board member of ARCS Foundation, ARCS, and is a member of the National Peace Corps Association. So welcome to Judy. We also have with us today Virginia Giddings. Virginia is a senior director of exploration at Edwards Life Sciences, where she advances breakthrough innovation through structural heart disease patients by building deep partnerships globally. Virginia has over 25 years of successful experience delivering innovation to patients, and with roles expanding medical device, pharmaceutical, and nutrition businesses. Prior to joining Edwards, Virginia was Vice President of Innovation for Intersect ENT, where she led research and development and clinical studies. Throughout her career, Virginia has focused on advancing breakthrough innovation with R&D programs, program management, business development, leadership roles at Stryker, Neurovascular, Abbott, and Johnson & Johnson. She serves on the Cornell Engineering Council, the President's Council of Cornell Women, the Georgia Tech Emory Bioengineering Board, and chairs the Cornell Biomedical Engineering Advisory Council. She is a fellow of the American Institute of Medical and Biological Engineering and the Industry Council Chair on the Board of Directors. Virginia is also co-founder of MedTech Vision Conference, which is held annually in Silicon Valley. She holds a BS and master's degrees in mechanical engineering from Cornell University and a PhD from Stanford University. So welcome, Virginia. So now I'm going to get to the questions. So Noreen, let's start with you. Please tell us a little bit more about your role at your company, Beckman Coulter. And then could you please answer this question for us? Why does it mean so much to you to be here today at UC Irvine as part of this leadership panel at UCI's kickoff for the UROP program?
Technology needed here already? I'm at a disadvantage? Okay. Well, no, I am very excited to be here and thank you for inviting me. As Michelle called out, I am Noreen Galvin and I am Senior Vice President of Quality, Regulatory and Clinical Affairs in Beckman Coulter. But let me start by sharing a little bit about who I am. You know, I grew up in rural Ireland on a farm. I was one of many daughters. There was one son. And my parents had a real passion to inspire us for education. My father did not have that opportunity. So no matter girls or not, he inspired us to go ahead and get our education. It was like when I was a child as well, at that same time, is really I had a curiosity about life. Why are things the way they are? And I was in a small rural part of Ireland, so we didn't have anything like you have today with all the media, etc. But I had a passion for trying to understand why things are the way they are. And that led me to pursue an education in science. So I went up to the big city, Dublin, and I started as my undergrad in microbiology and biochemistry. And from there, then I went on to do a PhD in microbiology, all in Dublin, in University College Dublin. I had a passion for research and I wanted to go on and do a postdoc. And that's where I was starting to go. But I actually got the opportunity with my husband to come to the United States. And that changed everything because I didn't understand the education system in the US or anything like that. So I came over and I got a job in the United States in Beckman Coulter. I started after a while in Beckman Coulter. And if you had asked me when I started that 26, 27 years later, I'd still be in the same company, I would be saying, no way, that's not where I'm going to be. I want to do technology, I want to do all that. But I did. And I want to share why I'm still where I am. I love technology. I love looking at things, understanding science, innovation. And I got to work for a company that looks at advancing healthcare for patients, for everyone. And so I got to work in a company that gave me the opportunity to learn, to grow, and to challenge, without a doubt, to challenge me on what I was doing. But I got to do all of that. And throughout doing that, I got to learn more and do more. And it was really an opportunity that I got to use the power of science. And that's what was when I started, it was really science is where I was. But I got to do the power of science and I realized on my path, I can do what I want to do in industry. I don't have to do the postdoc. So it's just the different direction and opportunities that come up. But in that role, looking and understanding the power of science with the innovative people you work with, you learn so much. The different diverse backgrounds, the different experience across the STEM boards that people have, you learned. And I had a really good opportunity. I know Michelle called it out in the beginning. I got to do a load of different types of jobs. I started as a R&D scientist doing protein separation. And I went on to keep technical roles. I got to support manufacturing lines when they were down. Why were they down? What was going on? I got to go back over to Europe and actually support our customers in their technology. I got to travel all across Europe, North Africa, all various different places. And then I got to come back to the United States and look at innovative new product ideas, product design, contribute that way, and continue to grow. And I wanted to share that at the same time, I had a family. And I know there's many women and folks out there in the audience. I had 2 children. They're not children now, they're grown adults. And they're both actually in the STEM. One is a chemical engineer, and my daughter is pursuing her PhD in evolutionary ecology. So I got to do that at the same time as doing the job that I had to eventually to where I am today, Quality and regulatory affairs was really my first kind of big passion area. You get to oversee so many different areas of a company in the role I have today. You see, when they think of an idea, to when they make the idea, to when they have the idea out with the customers, understanding the problems your customers have, and understanding how to take that technology globally. And then lastly, clinical affairs. I don't think anybody after what we've just lived through with the pandemic doesn't know what clinical affairs and clinical trials are. I think it's been well spoken about. But they were the opportunities I had, but I was enabled through all those opportunities by other folks, by different people I met with different stages in their career to help and grow me in my career. Now, to Michelle's question as to why am I here today on the panel? And really what it is and like why talk to you now versus later. So maybe I address the first part first. Research talent is the lifeblood of the industry I work for medical device. We need talent in the research area, developing and growing diverse talent to research professionals to ensure that we can innovate and advance what we're doing in our industry in healthcare. But that doesn't happen overnight. You have to have a strategy. You have to have, it's really key with companies, and many companies like ours, talent development is a key strategy. Helping and growing young people earlier in their careers, sending them through mentor programs, et cetera, et cetera. They're all opportunities that are available in many companies because they have to have that strategy because you're essential to the growth of the company, so the long term on that side. But then why am I talking to you guys today? And really, when I thought about it, I thought, this group of people that are here, really, I just wanted to be a part of a group that could encourage you and hopefully inspire you to work in STEM. You can make an impact. And you have youth, you have passion, you have a long life ahead of you in terms of being who you are and your authentic self to actually reach your full potential, whatever that is. We all have different places we want to be on our life, but really the opportunity and to work in science and to work in a STEM environment and research, you really have an opportunity to make an impact on the world. I think if you look back, the speed of what technology moves, everything behind of where we are today is through folks like you, and continue to research on that. So as an old woman, a lot older than many people here, I wanted to share that it's not easy, I agree. It takes hard work, it takes focus, it takes dedication to acquire or to work where you can get the meaningful skills for what you want, to go and work in the desired area of research. But when I listened to the program here, you got so much opportunity to get that. And I would say at the end that when I sat in the seat where you guys are sitting maybe X number of years ago, I wished I had heard somebody share what the kind of journey you can take and what the opportunities are there. I didn't know that. I did, very fortunately, through my whole career, have the opportunity to learn as I moved through it. So with that said, I hope that addresses the question, Michelle.
Yes. Thank you so much, Noreen. Thank you for your answer. Next, we're going to go to Kwame, Omer. And we have a question for you. We'd like you to tell us a little bit more about your background and your company. And the question is, since innovation is key to the future success of companies, and innovation is fueled by research, how has research specifically helped your company?
Thank you so much. I'm fortunate enough to be a venture partner in Wavemaker 360 Health. I'm an investor. So what I do is I take money from high net worth individuals and institutions and put them into emerging healthcare companies such that they will grow and eventually be acquired and return that money to our original investors. And the companies that we evaluate are born out of research from individuals at the undergraduate level and graduate level. And the reason why it's so important to us is it is literally the lifeblood. It is how we succeed. We invest in companies that have rich IP, intellectual property, and they get that intellectual property from researchers like yourself if you choose to become a researcher. So it is actually absolutely critical to the work we do. I go down to UCI on a fairly regular cadence to meet with companies who have IP born out of UCI, as an example. Dr. Michelle Kine has done some work that's resulted in companies that are now at a point that they're investable by firms like myself. The other potential path and why research is so important for me is that you may begin research as an undergraduate now, go to graduate school, take on a role at a company like Beckman Coulter or Johnson & Johnson, and after 5-10 years decide to form a startup. You will have valuable IP born out of work that you did that will be investable by firms like me. So those are the two main paths for why researchers take to build companies that are important for me as an investor. I know we're short on time. I want to thank you again for your time and the opportunity for me to be with you all today. And thanks again.
Wow, thank you so much, Kwame. Judy, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and also your journey, and also answer the question, what interesting aspect of research has helped you and or those in your company to be more successful in their career?
Well, it is really it's really a pleasure to be here again at UCI and talking to all you amazing students and hopefully inspiring you to follow your passion and find research in the areas of your world that make sense to you. Thank you so much, Noreen, for sharing your story about your family and your education. My family background, my parents, they were from the south side of Chicago, born during the Depression. Neither one of my parents were able to go to college, but it was the one thing that they really wanted their children to do. And my mother is she was an old-fashioned Irish Catholic woman, and her role for a woman was to marry a really good husband. So I was one of those math whizzes in high school, and I wanted this new thing, a computer came out, IBM, so all of a sudden I said, I want to major in computer science. And so I went looking for universities that had a major in computer science, and there really were only a few at the time, like MIT and TI and places in Texas and stuff like that. And but my mom said, nope, you're going to St. Mary's of Notre Dame, you're going to go meet a Notre Dame boy, you're going to get married, and the only reason you have a degree is in case something happened to him, you'd have a degree to fall back on. Well, I'm like, I wanted to see the world. I was from the Midwest. I hadn't seen any other country except we went to Mexico for our high school trip. So I decided to go in the Peace Corps. I ended up going to St. Mary's and I graduated, and I was, I didn't want to put my foot on the corporate ladder because I knew that the minute I put my foot on the corporate ladder, it would be really hard to get off. You get out of college, you got a down payment on an apartment, a car, etc. So I decided to join the Peace Corps and see a little bit of the world. Well, my mother thought, oh, she'll last 3 months. She's going to miss all her amenities of life. Well, I absolutely loved it. And I ended up staying for 5 years, and it was the best thing I could have ever done. So I came back to the United States. Both my brothers had moved to Los Angeles. So I said, well, just like I'm going to California. So, and I just want to say that I was at the right place at the right time. It was the very beginning of the personal computer. I want to backtrack a minute. When I was at St. Mary's, I took a labor economics class. I was an economics major and a minor in computer science. We didn't have a major, we just had a minor. So, and it was part of the math department. We went downstairs into the main computer room and they opened up the thing that looked like a refrigerator and there were circuit boards inside there. And I had never seen anything so complicated before, and I was just like, wow, I gotta, it really intrigued me. So in my labor economics class, they said, pick an industry and talk about the labor litigation. I picked IBM. I went to the library. There wasn't a single labor litigation case on IBM. All my classmates were picking steel, auto, all these heavy industrials. They had floors of high rises full of labor litigation. And my teacher said, write about why there wasn't any for IBM. And the reason was they provided the best labs, the best pay, the best amenities that any corporation at the time was doing, because the key was retaining employees. And I don't know if any of you are paying much to the news these days about the labor force, but one of the biggest challenges of any company right now is keeping your staff. So there's a lot of psychology. I mean, it's wonderful to be a brilliant scientist and have patents and licenses, but you need a team around you, like Michelle and the other ladies have said. It takes a village. And you really have to understand your personalities and your people and figure out what's going to make them love what they do and really contribute to the wealth of your organization and your product development. So in any case, I just wanted to mention that little bit about some of the dynamics with companies and how they treat research engineers. So I have had the privilege for the last 40 years of doing product development. My first business, I made sculptured water buffalo handbags. Don't laugh. I sold them to Saks Fifth Avenue and Bloomingdale's. This was in the beginning of designer handbags. And I learned a very good lesson. And I bet Kwame will appreciate this a little bit. Saks Fifth Avenue, when we had the purchase order, it said net 30. Net 30 means you got to pay your bills in 30 days. Saks Fifth Avenue didn't pay their bill for 9 months. Put me out of business. That's what Walmart does to a lot of small businesses too, by the way. So, when I started NPI Services, my current company of 24 years, I remembered that lesson about cash flow and how important that money and your customers paying their bills on time. So I had my first customer is a company in Orange County called Emulex Corporation. And when I did the first purchase order and quote, I said net 10. I put net 10. And that meant they had to pay their bill in 10 days. You gotta love technology. 10 years later, they never changed it. How about that, Kwame? Anyway, I just thought that actually is a very true story. But I'm very proud to say today, from all these lessons, from PCs to XTs to servers, I build the most amazing products and I work with the most amazing scientists in this country. We do research and development electronic subsystems. I do Tesla, I do SpaceX, I do Northrop, I do Raytheon, I do the US Navy. Why do you think big companies like that come to me? Because they're so big and bureaucratic and inefficient that they cannot support their research engineers as fast as I can. So my whole mantra, my value proposition is when quick turn matters, people are going to pay a premium to get their product to market ahead of the competition. So these amazing ladies I'm sitting next to, they got some really serious competition. So they're competing with getting products to market that are going to satisfy a need. Technology is about solving problems. You want to be a research scientist? Pick a problem and solve it. If you can save a company time and money and do something better, you're going to get their attention. So anyway, I guess I probably am over. But in any case, if anyone would ever like to reach out, you can follow us on Facebook, on LinkedIn. You guys had mentioned, I'm a member of the ARCS Foundation, which stands for Achievement Rewards for College Scientists. ARCS was started in 1957 as a response to Sputnik. ARCS is the oldest STEM nonprofit in the United States. There is a chapter here at UCI, and we provide $5,000 to 10 first-year PhD students and 10 second-year PhD students. And it is a privilege to support the amazing students of UCI. I'm a very proud member of the Engineering Council, and it's because of my donations to STEM and this scientific community that I have been invited to participate with the Engineering Council. So thank you very much, and you guys can feel free to reach out, npiservices.com.
Thank you, Judy. And now we have our last panelist, and she's fantastic. Her name is Virginia Giddings from Edwards Life Sciences. And the question that we have for you, Virginia, is, and it's probably the one all of you in the room are thinking about, is your company hiring research candidates? And if so, please describe some of these research opportunities and tell us how UC Irvine students can best prepare for an opportunity to work for your company in a research-related position.
Okay, great. I think my mic is on. Well, it's lovely to be here, and I'm super excited too because it was just like a short ride down the road to get here from Edwards campus. Some of you may know Edwards already, and if not, Edwards was a local startup story many, many years ago. Our primary technology are valves to treat the heart. So when your aortic valve becomes calcified, we have a replacement for that, and we pioneered that technology here in Orange County. We also have solutions for all the other valves of the heart. So we are very singularly focused on the heart valves, structural heart disease, and hemodynamic monitoring. So that's Edwards' business. And then my role within Edwards is like, I have the most fun job ever, because what I get to do is I sit within a team that's called Advanced Technology. And we're responsible for building the next big business for Edwards. And we do that two ways. We do it by incubating, so conceptualizing, ideating, all of that, design process, and we come up with internal ideas. But we also recognize that there are many great ideas that happen outside the walls of Edwards. Just sort of the probability of numbers, or however you want to call it. There are many great ideas out there, and it's the job of myself and my team to go out there and look at those ideas and work with the amazing entrepreneurs out there coming up with these ideas and develop a portfolio of technologies which we can then bring into Edwards. So certainly research, as Kwame said, research factors into that in terms of the ideas out there. And for my job, I think what really qualified me for this amazing sort of career job was my research experience along the way, starting as an undergrad and then my master's, doing my master's project. And my project was on a radial head replacement for the wrist, if you fracture the wrist. That brought me into orthopedics. I then went on, it landed me my first job, that research project. I was able to go in and interview and talk about this research project I did. I got my first job in orthopedics. That took me into my PhD, which I did in orthopedic biomechanics, which was going really deep on research. And I think, for me, I didn't choose an academic path. So then you look at it and you say, okay, well, where did that, how did that research impact me and my trajectory? And I think there are a couple things just to think about. Number one, I became the world expert in the calcaneus. That was my PhD thesis. So if you don't know, that's the heel bone. But what is the relevance to me today is I learned that if I learned the process, the research process, like how do you do research, number one. And I carry that with me today, and I use it every single day. Number two is I gained this confidence of I could be the world's expert in a topic, and all of you could also be the world's expert in a topic too, right? It's really doing the research and going very, very deep. And number three, I built this network and connections that moved with me throughout my career and has opened just about every door for me. And they talk about that in terms of sponsorship. Like, how do you develop sponsors? Sponsors are those people who later help you to get a job. And so those are three ways where that research really, really impacted me. But I want to answer your question about research opportunities, because I think this is something, it's never too early to get started doing research. And probably, for Edwards and for pretty much every other large company I've worked with, the best way to do that research and engage with a company is through their internship program. It's really timely that we're having this discussion now, because not just for Edwards, but I think for all the other companies, this is around the time when they start interviewing interns for the summer. Internships, when I was an engineer, I did an internship and I developed a filing system for an HVAC company. It was really boring, really tedious work, and I learned very little from it. But that is not how it works with the corporate internships. Corporate internships, what they try to do for the students is provide a really rich experience where you have a specific project that's defined for you to come into the company and do, and at the end of your summer internship, you would then present the results. That's how we do it at Edwards. It's how we did it at Abbott when I was there. It was how we did it at Stryker when I was there. And that's really your best way to get research experience. So you have a career center here. I'm sure they would know the internship opportunities. I would take a look at that and see if there's something there. Also, it's a huge benefit for you whether you continue on in academics with some other kind of graduate degree. It's great experience for you, but also if you go out to the job market, it is so important in terms of like going through the interview process to be able to speak to these kinds of experiences you have. And in fact, again, all of those companies that I worked for that do internships, the goal of the internship program is to then have you come back as a full-time hire down the road. So that would be, really that's the objective of the company. So that's another aspect of it. So I think that about covers it.
Thank you so much, Virginia.
I think we're going to be sticking around afterwards. So,
yes, so if you have questions, they'll be here afterwards. And I just wanted to thank the whole panel. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Sure. I apologize. Relative to the question, when I was looking at the requirements for you guys to submit for your own research project, there were three really key important elements, and this is across all programs or any research. And that is, what resources do you need to complete your resource? How much money do you need? And how much time? And when I mentioned that I do projects for all those companies, that's exactly what they get by working with. They want to know what is the budgetary cost of this, how much effort are we going to need, and when can we get it done. So I just want to emphasize those three variables are relative to every product. Sorry, I think that was part of my question.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, and next up we have our alumni panel, and we have Rich who will be moderating and introducing our alumni speakers.
Wow, so that was great, right? I mean, thanks to Cynthia for kicking us off with that great keynote, and our leadership panelists, and Mia for, of course, bringing it all together. Because, they gave us some really nice diverse stories that really show how curiosity, and passion, and action can carry someone through, just all kinds of fascinating directions. You don't know how you're going to get there. And I'm sure many of you are just wondering, how do I even get started? We had a lot of questions submitted in advance, and really our leaders actually answered several of them, but they were all in a common theme of basically, how do I prepare for a career in research, or how do I engage in different opportunities for internships or paid opportunities, and how does one even find one's compass across so many different fields or subdisciplines, and then of course how to get those resources to help you and make those directions. And I'm hoping that you're going to really appreciate our alumni panel, because I'm introducing you to you, those who came before you and have had to walk the path from where you started here at UCI, and the resources they tapped and the journeys they take and some of the decisions they've made. So, I myself, I'm in cybersecurity, which is a little different take on it, but I got to tell you, in my own journey, I'm connected to our own research community, and that sense of curiosity and that passion for lifelong learning is what's going to sustain you and bring you back to what Cynthia was talking about, which is being true to your own self in something that is going to be a joy to work in and keep you moving forward. So I would like to say a little bit about our panelists. So let's see. Oh, we don't have the. Oh yes, okay. So we have. You're all up on the screen here, but actually, can I invite our localized panelists to join us? So come on up. We have a special guest zooming in, and we've got some local talent. So first, I'll briefly introduce you to them, and then I'll let them share a little bit about their own stories. But we're joined by Gabriela Marcoux, and she's an assistant professor at the University of Michigan, who started here at UCI at the Donald Brennan School of Information and Computer Sciences. And she took her technical career in the direction of thought leadership and mentorship and education of others. So she used her passion to learn and teach. We have Ahmed Zobi. He's the CEO and founder of Cynthia Health Technologies, and he's very engaged in industry. He's recently featured in a Forbes entrepreneurial spotlight, and he's a driven person. So we've got Julian Drake, who is a process development engineer for Applied Medical, and in his role, he'll be helping to innovate new generations of medical devices and improve the lives of people across the globe as his career progresses. And then, of course, we're joined by Yushi Patel, who's the CEO and co-founder of Sensin. Now, Yushi has a background here from UCI as well. Oh, everyone's here from UCI, of course, in bioengineering and biomedical engineering. And she has been a passionate researcher, and it shows in her career that ultimately inspired her to just co-found her own firm and to support the field of clinical neurology. And in fact, her device, once approved, could provide accelerated screening for conditions such as Alzheimer's and traumatic brain injury and epilepsy, for field diagnosis and such. So these are all pioneers because of their passion. Anyway, I will get to some of these questions. So thank you all for joining us. Do we have a Zoom join that's not present? Not showing? Thank you. Hi.
Hello.
All right, we got audio and video. Looking good. So, oops, sorry, wrong piece of paper. So anyway, starting off as an alumni of UCI, then having the benefit of looking back, how did you get started in your initial career trajectory? Because I think that's what really people want to know is, where do I go from here? And what kind of resources did you tap in when you think back just to get those first steps going? So maybe I'll just, actually I'll start from afar. Gabriella, what are your thoughts on that?
Sure. Thank you so much. It's nice to join you from Michigan. I'm an assistant professor at the University of Michigan in the School of Information. I started research when I was a sophomore at Irvine studying informatics. And I was basically trying everything on campus. I didn't really know where I wanted my career to go. I was involved in student organizations and leadership. I did an internship in industry. And so research was just one of the many things I was trying out. And I started with professors who I had taken classes with. And it took me, I was trying to count it for you the other day, I think at least 4 different faculty members and many different projects until I found what really stuck. And I was trying to reflect on what kept me going, even though the first few research projects I tried were not really my passion. But what it was about research was how much it challenged me. And it was one of the most challenging things that I had done. And I loved being able to ask questions and do this type of problem solving. And I think that's what made me stick with it. And I took advantage of every different undergraduate research program. One thing I want to say about that is it's been lovely how much folks have been talking about all the different opportunities and funding and how you apply for funding. That can be really intimidating. And so all I want to say is just find your people, find a mentor, find other students who are doing work that you think is cool, and then just talk to them. You don't need to know what it means to apply to something. You don't need to know how to put together a budget. I didn't know that until a few years into being a faculty member. So don't let that intimidate you. Once you've found your tribe, once you've found your people and you have those people are in your corner and see that you're passionate about doing something, they'll be the ones that help you do that. And that's what I did. And it took me, after about the 4th one, and then it was just the kind of research where it was just really fun. And I just thought, there's nothing else I would rather sort of do. And I signed away my 20s to do a PhD straight out of undergrad, which again, I would not have rather done anything else. And the research that I do now, 12, 13 years later, is very similar to the research that I was doing as an undergrad. So it really was it. Once I found it, it was like, yep, this is the sandbox that I want to play in forever, because I could explore problems here forever.
Thank you. I actually want to talk to Ayushi and Ahmed about funding specifically, but first let me pivot over to Julian. You landed yourself with a diverse team that you're really excited about, I can tell. So how did you find your way there, and what are you looking forward to? What's driving you?
Yeah, so first, it's great to be with everyone. So I was, a recent grad from UC Irvine, actually this past summer, so I'm not too far from where you guys were. I am a process development engineer at Applied Medical. We are in Rancho Santa Margarita, and I love what I do. I love going to work every day. I would do what I'm doing right now, not getting paid, and I would still love what I'm doing. And so that's how I know that I'm passionate about it. So I'm helping people every day, and it's awesome. But to your question, how research is so important. So I started research in my first year under Professor Tang. So he's a biomedical engineering professor. He's great friends with Dr. Kine. And he was my mentor that a lot of people have been talking about. And he really kind of came alongside me and explained what research was. Because as a first year student, I didn't really know what to do as research, and it was a really large school. I came from a high school of graduating class of 100 students, and then coming to a university of 35,000 students. You can imagine it's a huge culture shock, right? And so trying to get your foot in the door into a lot of opportunities was a little bit hard for me, but research was one of those niches where I was able to kind of find my purpose on campus. And then once I kind of found out what I wanted to do, then Professor Tang and a bunch of the researchers kind of really just piqued my curiosity and asked me those tough questions, and really funnel my curiosity of what I wanted to do, what I didn't want to do. So there were some projects where I didn't didn't like, and then I was like, okay, like I can go in a different direction and like how I really want to do something. And so yeah, research is really how I found like what I love to do, and then it turned into like an internship. And actually where I'm working today is because of an internship. And so going back to Virginia's point, like internships are important, but that's not the point of the question. So research is really important. It really just like funnels your curiosity, because there's so many like problems in the world, like unanswered problems, and even problems that are not being even talked about right now. And research is that great way of really pushing the boundaries a lot of the speakers have talked about. So.
Thank you. And so I was sitting in a conversation about diversity, equality, and inclusion yesterday, as a matter of fact, with some UCI faculty, as it just so happens. And we, because it's an important topic, but one of the things we were talking about was compassion, and compassion is really empathy combined with action. And one of the things that I think is really pronounced is when you start to look towards leadership and really entrepreneurial end of thing is how do you take that passion and how you apply it to action. And so that's why I wanted to pivot, now move over to Ayashi and Ahmed to ask them about, taking that leap of faith and, just taking your passion and just driving forward and getting started. Because we had one of our leader panelists is a venture capitalist, and before this all started, Ayushi and I were talking about funding and how do you even get going. And so anyway, Ayushi, can you, just as you're closer to me, because I don't know, arbitrarily, talk about how you started that or why you started that, and how you got going.
Yeah, checking audio? Oh, perfect. So I know it's overwhelming when by the way, I graduated 2 years ago, so I'm not very far off. I've been in one of those seats. And I know what it feels like, and it's very overwhelming. Where do you start? Where do you go there? Are we making the right decisions? And those are questions I've had too. And as unfortunate as it is, and there's a beauty in this, sometimes it does take a leap of faith, right? You find something you really like, and you jump the gun, and you're like, hey, I'm gonna do this. I get asked something all the time that if I knew all the stress of being a startup founder and CEO, would I do it again? And my answer is 100%. I did not get paid for 2 years, didn't make a dime, and I would still do it every single day. So how did I get started? So how many of you guys know what an ECG is? Come on, Apple Watch, ECG. All right, so ECG does something for your heart, and it tells you how your heart is. The problem is we don't have something for the brain, and that's frustrating because brain is the most important organ of your body. So my research interest peaked when I was actually doing a study abroad in China. And there's a very weird story how I landed there, but I was just looking for something exciting for that summer. And I ended up going to Peking University in China, met one of the best professors in neuromodulation technologies, and he really started my interest. And when I flew back, I was able to find a professor who was very passionate about clinical neurology research and wanted to give students the power of taking their projects forward and thinking of them from a clinical translation point. How could he take this research back in the hospital and make patients better, right? So that kind of responsibility and accountability, when that was set on my shoulders, it really helped me it put the ante up, right? So now I had more responsibility and I was doing better. All of those soft skills ended up translating into founding the startup itself. And I know the questions about how do you even get started with fundraising, the answer is you don't know. The only part I knew when I started the company was the technology. Then I tapped into resources like professors, people, doctors, other people like Ahmed, who started the company before, been through the process, and slowly filled in the pieces. And that part is a research itself. Don't think of research as just creating a new drug. There's research in business strategy, research in fundraising, research in how do you talk to your customers, how do you synthesize that data, how do you put it back into your product. There's all kinds of ways. And I'll stop here and I'll actually pass the ball to Ahmed if he wants to talk about fundraising.
Yeah, so thank you guys for having me here. My name is Ahmed Zobi. I actually graduated, 2016. Whatever, how many years that's what, 5 years now? God. Yeah, 5 years ago. I actually took a fifth year, so I'm not that old. But I came in 2011, and what really got me interested in research was actually before I even accepted my application to UCI. I was given, back then there was a program at UCI, which is all these potential freshmen can come to campus and they can look at some of the programs. And what really stuck out to me was the presentation on UROP. So my mother has a slew of medical illnesses ranging from diabetes to fibromyalgia. So I grew up always having to learn what her doctors were telling her about this medication, about this disease, about this symptom. And when I was coming and looking at a bunch of UCs, I loved the fact that UCI had a program where I could pitch an idea. I say pitch now that I'm using my whole startup mind, but I can present an idea and potentially get some money. Yeah, it's not a lot of money, but it's some money. And a little bit about us, when we were in Michelle Kine's, Professor Kine's class back in 2015, we started a company literally off of a couple of $100s, pieces of plastic, a laser cutter, and whatever hammer we had next to us to bash this thing in together, and made a product that actually worked, that a lot of people didn't believe that was going to work. And we won $14,000 off of the seed funding that was part of the class, and we went out to actually create a device and multiple patents after that. I think I have like 10 plus patents under my name. It doesn't really matter to me, but it's just seeing that growth off of literally a piece of plastic and $400 in our account to now over $2.2 million in fundraising done. We're raising our next round of funding, which is over $10 million. So all of that literally started before I even accepted my application to UCI. Actually, before I think I even got accepted into UCI, off of just that UROP speech that was given. So for me, and I tell this to everyone that I ever meet, and you guys, you can hound me on LinkedIn. Please don't do it too much, but you can hound me on LinkedIn and I will help as much as I can with my free time. But there are so many opportunities, especially with UROP, where you can really try something. Something that I tell a lot of undergraduates that I meet is find a professor that you really click with. The way to do it is the way I learned, which is find their most recent publications that you really are interested in, dissect those publications, come up with questions, and then schedule a meeting with that professor and say, why did you do it this way and why didn't you do it that way? Pique their interest in you because you're piquing interest into their research and their background. That's how I clicked with a couple of my professors. I was actually in 2 labs at UCI. I did burn wound injury research because I was burned as a kid with my aunt. The research related to analyzing cytokines and these little things that are being spit out by your body to analyze how deep the burn wounds are, because right now we just do it visually. There is no scan. Now they have scanners, but back then there were no scanners to test all of that. And in my freshman year, and again, grateful for the BME department, my first class, BME 1, was basically, here's an invention that's already out there, a hemodialysis machine or a dialysis machine that a lot of people know about it. Take that, reverse engineer it, and re-engineer it into something new. So we took this thing that requires patience, and again, conceptualized. It wasn't actually created into something which I wish that we did have that large amount of funding to do, but we took this device and we analyzed it, we broke it down, and we made it a mobile unit, i.e. patients don't have to be driven to DaVita dialysis. They can have a nurse come to their house, hook them up on a hemodialysis machine that is literally the size of a microwave, and it would filter out the blood. If the patient's diabetic, which a majority of them are, it would test their blood sugar, it would pour in insulin through the blood that has just been cleaned, and it's just this one-step system that could also, and I think I call it, we invented telehealth before it became a thing, it would also send out a response to the doctors at a certain facility, and they can adjust as needed. So for me, being able to create something was what I loved to do. I was always tinkering with everything. You'd see a baby photo of me having pliers poking at a TV and just trying to break it down and analyze it. I did that multiple times with my dad's computers. So fast forward, after I graduated and we won the competition winning, I started Cinter with my co-founders who were also biomedical engineers. And multiple hats were worn. How do you go about raising funding? Let me tell you, it's not easy. People will tell you, yeah, we fund pre-revenue, animal study, and then you go to them and they're like, yeah, we actually kind of want you to be here. So for me, what I had to learn was, adapt the business as much as possible. Take all the information that you're getting and really just filter out through the noise and say, you know what? Yeah, maybe we're a little bit early. We applied for federal funding. We got an SBIR, which is a Small Business Innovation Research Grant, a year. It took us a year, but we got $300,000, which really helped us start really improving the device and testing it out in animal models. And now we're here where we received our FDA clearance just this year in July. And now we're getting into human clinical trials and sales and all of this. And you look at it and you're like, look at me, it's been 6 years. I don't think I got paid for 4 out of that 6 years. And even the years that I did get paid, it's not even a living salary or a living wage, but I loved every aspect of it. I woke up every single day loving what I do, through thick, thin, ugly, bad, all of that, and just being where I am today, I'm grateful for it. So, you guys are very lucky. Just one parting wisdom. One of my mentors, PhD, very smart guy, I think he worked at Edwards Medtronic. He actually told me once in his office hours, like, I envy you because of the stuff that you don't know. And I'm like, what do you mean? You're a PhD, you're a professor. You have like the most amount of knowledge. And he's like, that's exactly it. It's because I know everything, I can't think outside of the box anymore. So for you guys, you have that opportunity, that untapped potential. Even if someone said, we've already done it before, the same exact way, do it. Because maybe you might find something different. Because that's the exact way that we went about our technology. Everyone said, you cannot put a microfluidic device on top of a CD. It won't work, it'll blow up, it'll break, it'll do whatever. And we did it. And it worked. And now we're here with an actual physical product that's been FDA cleared and now being used on humans. So, use as much resources as possible. You have us as examples. I'm not going to speak for them on their availabilities, but you can always contact me, and I'm always happy to help and give back.
Thank you for that. Just to keep us on time, we've got about 2 more minutes or so, but I wanted to point out that across both panels, you're going to see that all of them have had a couple things in common. And one is that they're doing something that they're inspired by, that they find that drives them, and ultimately makes them give back to others. And that's what's been a tone for this room anyway. And I think that's noble and awesome. And Ahmed was just talking about mentorship. Gabriella was just talking about find your people, and it's also true. Get your resources together. So, Ahmed, you talked about a mentor. Does anyone else have a story about a mentor that they had that really made a difference to them?
Oh, so as I said that in startup, Ahmed knows this better than anybody else. You wear a lot of hats, including business, sales, FDA, research, and you will have a mentor who's been through that journey at every step. And I was very fortunate to have somebody very early on who taught me what is a financial projection, or how to even talk to an investor. And right now, so our device is fully functional, and we're actually using it on human subjects too. So we have mentors or physicians, right? They guide the strategy. What are the endpoints that you really care about from an investor standpoint? And what are the endpoints of a study that I, as a physician, care about to give out that assessment? And it all started off with this professor I did research with. He was a physician himself, an avid researcher, and he was so passionate about giving students the power to do the projects and taking that accountability, even for undergraduates. So go ahead, find out that professor, just like Emmett said, you click with, who's willing to give you that responsibility and take that project forward. And that will create leaps of progress in how you do any project.
Well, thank you for that. I want to thank our panelists and for the alumni panel. I think we're all going to be sticking around for a little bit. I'm going to give you back to our MC, Michelle. But I do want to say the common theme here is your imagination. Take it, follow it, do something about it, because they have, and you can too.
Sorry, I just want to say one thing really fast, if you don't mind. But yeah, we are always here to help, and like I said, we're all alumni. So feel free to reach us out on LinkedIn as well. Our names are on the other side. But yeah, we were in your shoes like not too long ago, and so we know how it feels. So just feel free to reach out whenever you guys have any questions. But yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. This was so inspirational, and I really want to thank all of our speakers again for all your insight and motivation and dedication to helping UCI students find their passion and what it is they want to do moving forward. So at this point, I want to encourage everyone to stay for a little bit. We have some time until 7 o'clock to mix and mingle. I know for those of you who got a poker chip, you have your lunch, or your dinner, I should say. And even we've got t-shirts and masks for everyone, but there's no, as long as you got that chip, you can pick it up outside at the registration table at any time. So there's no rush to get out there. Please do mix and mingle. And then please do, again, if you'd like more information about UROP and how to take advantage of these opportunities and apply for funding, and well, it just went away, but it's on our website, and or it's on the slide, and we do have some flyers out there as well. Thank you so much, everyone. We appreciate it.